Hello, everybody. It looks like the numbers are still maybe changing a little bit, so we'll wait a second or two for those that are logging in just so they can get settled. Super excited about today's topic. I hope you are as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and kind of get started. I'll just take it kind of slow because the numbers are definitely changing, so I do appreciate everybody coming in. For today, we will be going over enhanced receiving. I have set up some items in a sample file. I'm also going to kind of show you the comparison between one versus the other. Our focus again is going to be on the enhanced receiving, but I want to be able to walk you through how this can impact, our daily workflow. My name is Lori Walsh. I am a partner here at Fourlane, and I am super excited to see the numbers changing, especially since it is a holiday week. So I appreciate you taking time to spend with us. Before I get started on today's topic, I do want to remind everyone we do have a YouTube channel. So if you have missed any of our previous webinars or even trainings, you can always find them on our channel at YouTube /Fourlane. We also have a Facebook page, right? So you can find us on Facebook also. If you go ahead and connect with us there, you'll be able to get a variety of information. It's a place that you can also ask questions and get that peer-to-peer assistance and sharing of information in that group. So I encourage you to join us there as well. We also have on-demand support. So this is somewhat of a newer product that we're providing, and it is a great help. It's $25 per QuickBooks user per month for up to 5 users. Now it will drop if you have over 6, or 6 or more. The way that it works is once that you sign up, whenever you need help with some of the issues listed on this slide, such as product registration, error codes, maybe a rebuild fail, all it takes is a simple email to our help desk about what's going on, and then we will get back with you quickly, usually within the hour, to go over whatever the issue is. So if you are interested in that, please reach out to us for more information on how this works and how you can get set up. All right, one of our main concentrations here at Fourlane is helping clients to focus on using their data to help them make better business decisions. Right? One way we do that is tied to understanding how the system works, which is one of the reasons that we do our webinars, right? So that we can understand the flow of data in the system. We want to make sure that there's a way that we can accurately record our day-to-day transactions using the system to its fullest capacity based on your business type. So as you can see from this slide, we have many ways we help our clients, such as KPI advisory, maybe establishing processes. Maybe we know they're broken, but we don't know how to fix them. Even looking at financial reporting and day-to-day bookkeeping. There's a lot of things that we do. But as I said, we're all focused, all of these are focused on making data-driven decisions. All right, so let's get started on our topic for today. So enhanced receiving or enhanced inventory receiving, some people will refer to it as EIR, all the same thing. What it does do in QuickBooks is it allows us to create a more standard process for inventory receiving. So inventory being, for most of us that have inventory, right, that's a lot of money. We're investing in our business. We want to make sure that those numbers are right, but we also need to make sure that our process is right. We do see when people turn on the enhanced receiving that it does create some havoc in their file. So I want to go through some of that and show you some comparisons between one and the other. So let's get started. When we do turn it on, you will get this little warning. Just remember, this is something that once you turn it on, you cannot turn it off. Now we have ways that we can work on the Fourlane side where we can release that hold, right? But we recommend that you recognize it cannot be turned off. And so we need to make some decisions beforehand, right? So using it as a test file, maybe sometimes it can take a while to convert if we have a lot of transactions in the current file, right? So doing that test up front is definitely a way to start and making sure that we back up regularly. All right. So here's some questions that we can ask ourselves first to see if this is going to be the right decision. Do we ever have a situation where we have one vendor bill, but we have multiple receipts for that one bill? Or maybe the opposite, we have multiple bills, but we only have one receipt. Um, if we need to have more control between the receiving department and the accounting department, that's another one that's big, right? And then there may be situations where you need to prepay for your inventory, but you don't want your inventory counts to go up. Now, there's lots of ways we can work through that, but this particular feature in QuickBooks is to help us do that in the system without doing a workaround. All right. So now let me go into the sample file, and I actually have two of them open, and let's get started. So I have this lighter blue one over here. That is a standard sample company that is for advanced inventory. And then I have this one, which is our enhanced receiving, okay? So as you can see, my home page does look a little bit different, especially up here on the vendor center, right? Because I have the inner bills here, I have my receive items, but I do not have this one, right? I am not able, once I turn the enhanced receiving on, I am not able to enter a bill against inventory. Okay, so we'll go through that in a minute, but let me show you some of the changes or some of the differences here. So when I go into my preferences in my standard file, right, and I go, or my standard sample file, and I go into my items and inventory, I have all of these boxes, right, that I can check or uncheck, okay? Now in my enhanced receiving, once I've turned it on and I go into my items, this one I'm not able to change, right? That's one of those process changes that happens when we turn it on. Now from this side, when I do turn this on, I am going to get that warning that we looked at just a second ago, and it is going to warn me, hey, stop, you cannot turn this off once you've turned it on, right? And so when you do turn this on, you need to read through these or call us, right? Because we can help too. But remember, once we turn this on, our process does have a different feel, okay, and a different flow. It will go ahead and create a backup, so you won't have to worry about remembering to do that, just in case you get in there and you're like, oh, no, this is not good. Or in this case, right, when it does go through that process, it can take a while if you have a lot of transactions in your file. It will also, or could also, go back and make changes to history, okay? And it does not require a password to do that. So your financials could change. So all of these are things that we need to look at before we actually make an official change in your file. And when we do testing with you, we usually set that up and go through and make sure that we know what changes are going to happen before we get started, okay? Now, as you can see, I have the enable button here. On this one, I don't, because it's already been turned on. And as you can see, there's no button to turn it off, right? Because of the fact that it is there for good now. One of the other things that will happen, so if I go in, right, to do a receipt or enter a bill, or you're going to see that I have the options here, right, to enter my bill. When I go to do my inventory without a bill, okay, my item receipt shows up, but I have this box right here that I can actually change it to a bill. Okay, but on this side, okay, when I go to receive my items, I do not have that box. And that's because when we do an item receipt, this is when my inventory is going to increase. If I do a bill, it will not. All right, so let's go ahead and let me just expand this out, and now we'll go in and look at some transactions, see what we've got, okay? So let me close this one out for a second. So I can go ahead and enter my purchase orders just like normal. So let's do a new one, right? Same way, right? Put in my items. Now, one of the differences here, if I have non-inventory parts as part of my purchase order, I have to receive those on a receipt too, right? I cannot add it to, it's not going to close, well, I don't have to. If I want it to close out my purchase order though, I have to, okay? So that's, And we don't want a whole bunch of open POs out there that are old where we have to manually go in and mark it as if we're changing it, right? We don't want to have to do that. So the process will be when we enter our purchase order, right, whatever those quantities are, and I hit save, right? If I'm going to create my item receipt, right, let's do this and say yes. Let's go with that last one there. We need to go ahead and receive these as well, okay? So when I go ahead and put this one in as my reference number, right, and I save and close. Now again, I don't have that button up here, so I'm not going to be able to do much with that at this point as far as getting a bill. And let's look at the 8525 here. So if I go ahead and say yes, I've saved it, okay? Let's go forward. Let's see, where's my other one? So it's going to show the received in full, even if it has a non-inventory item on there, right? Okay, because there's my filters for my non-inventory. It's marked as closed over here. Whoops, let me move this out a little bit so we can see it. Marked as closed, right? So my open PO will not be hanging out there. Now, when I go to if I go to pay bills, so this is our, whatever that number was, the 8525. Whoop, I want to pay bills. I can't see it because I haven't entered that bill yet, right? I still have the receipt out there, but I don't have a bill yet, okay? So when I go to enter my bill now, and let me clear this one. Let's just, when I put in my inventory, it's going to tell me, hey, you have transactions out there. Okay, let's go look at them. So there's my purchase order, there's my item receipts, there's the 8525 we just entered, right? So I'm going to go ahead and go with that one. Now, and we're going to look at this in a minute too. I can put more than one on there. Okay, now let me show you this one and then we'll go back to that. So when I put that in there, there's my non-inventory items, there's my items, my purchase order's closed. I'm now linking that item receipt to this bill. And now when I save and close, let's go ahead and put this one in, that number. When I save and close, that receipt gets used. Now that is ready for me to pay. Okay. Now, if I have a scenario where I have multiple receipts for one bill, which happens, right? Go ahead and go home here and let's enter another bill. Okay, so we put in our little vendor name. It's telling me I have more. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and enter this receipt and this receipt together. And it brings everything in. So I'm not having to piece it together, split my bill in half, right? Saying dash A or dash 1. It'll put them all together. And that way it will match the actual bill, right? So I don't have to keep up with all that extra work. So we put in our number here. We go ahead and save and close. And those receipts are now attached to that bill. Makes it really nice. Now, we can do it the other direction. Okay, so let's say I have a bill here, right? And I need to include part of one. I'm not sure what this one has on it. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove. And remove, so I can receive that part and it'll still leave the other items available, which is cool. All right, let me go ahead and save and close. Now, if we have a scenario where we need to prepay our inventory, but it's not time to receive it, right? Because it's not here yet. So we don't want our inventory counts to go up whenever we have to pay this bill. And we've created some workarounds before, right, where we can put it to a location that says it's in transit. Maybe we're creating an asset account for transit inventory, whatever, but it is ours, but it's not physically here. Because we cannot do it from a bill, I can come in here, go ahead and use my little inventory vendor. I'm not gonna attach it to anything at this point. But let's say that I have all of these items. I'm going to use one. Whoops, let me use this one and this one because I know those are not on my list right now. So go ahead and put those in there and do a quantity. Let's just do 50 of each. That's easy. Okay, now I want you to watch for these two right here. So if I go ahead and create the bill, put in my number, prepayment, right? So when I go ahead and hit save, those items are saved. That bill is out there, right? Showing that it's to be paid. But when I go to my inventory valuation summary report, let's update that. If I look so that the wire nuts here, if I look here, I will not see that on my list. Right now, this is the one step that I have seen with clients that has made the biggest mess up in their file, because they're like, oh, well, I put the bill in there, so my inventory should be fine, right? Now I'm going to go ahead and receive against the purchase order. Now my inventory does match, but not the same day, right? I went ahead and paid it, but they're not tied together in the system, right? So if I go and look at things, then I don't know which one, right? So if somebody goes, oh, wait a minute, now I'm going to attach these to this bill, it does create confusion in the system, right? So we want to make sure our process is there, which I'll go through one more time so that we can see what steps need to happen and when. But if we do need to go ahead and prepay, we can. So we can go ahead and pay this bill, get that money out there so that the product can, be processed to send to us, or maybe that's the release they're waiting on, whatever that happens to be. I can go ahead and enter that bill, okay? Knowing that my inventory still is correct. Now, once it's received, right, and receiving gets that packing list for these products, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just close out this bill, but I want to make sure that I'm using this item. Actually, I guess I can receive them from here too. Makes sense. You can do it either way. You can receive it from there. I was going to go and actually go to an item receipt, which I'll show you in a second because I have some other bills open so you can see what that looks like. It's going to show me, hey, wait a second. We have these bills and receipts open. There's my prepayment. Okay, I attach that, fills it in for me, allows me to put in my number for my receipt. It ties that receipt back to that bill, so it links them together. That way they're not, kind of free floating around. I can come down here and show the bill, right? So I can make sure it matches, make sure I don't have any issues. Okay, then I can come in here and I can save and close, and that links those together. Doesn't change my inventory counts, it just links those together. Now, if I go ahead and revert this, oops, let me just do a new one here. When I come in here and I'm doing a new bill as an example, and I say, okay, it's going to show me that same thing. So if I pick this and this and this, they're all on there. And it links them to that one because you can see I have different purchase order numbers in here, or receipt numbers, whatever it happens to be. I can come in here if these are related to a customer, right? I could have put those on there as well and it would link those too, right? But it gives me that flexibility to do a lot more with it, understanding that it's the workflow, which we'll go through right now. All right, so let me go ahead and save and close this. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to put those out there. Oops, it looks like we may have one. So selecting multiple receipts for one bill is only available in the enhanced receiving. Now, I have worked with clients before, and actually in the past, I've done things where I actually took a bill because I could not do that. We did not have the enhanced receiving on, and I took one bill and actually divided it up into whatever that was, right? But it does create a headache if you have a lot of them, right? Because you have to make sure that they all balance back. Okay. Let's see, is that the only one that's out there? Yep, looks like that's the only question. So thank you for that, Robin. If anybody else posts any, just feel free. And if I don't get to those at the end, I promise we will get some answers to you after. Okay, so let me kind of show you the reports. As you can see on my inventory valuation detail, I only have item receipts in my enhanced receiving file. If I go back to the other sample file and I look at that inventory valuation detail, I will have bills and item receipts in there, right? So if I have an item receipt started, right, so I've received the product, and then I go and put the bill to attach to that receipt, it'll convert it to the bill, right? So you won't see both of them, you just see one. But you can see the difference between the reports. And as we talked through just a minute ago on my pay bills, I will only have the pay bills. In the other file, we only have the pay bills, so that part is the same. Because if you just have a receipt, it will not allow you to pay it any more than we can do in the enhanced receiving scenario. Okay, so the process should be, right, we create a purchase order. All right, so let's do a new one. So we create that purchase order just like we do if we are using purchase orders, right, in our current system. All right, so go ahead and do that. I go ahead and put my quantity. Now, one thing to keep in mind, and I did neglect to mention this earlier, whatever's on our purchase order for the rate, that is what's going to attach itself to that item receipt, which is going to how our cost is evaluated, right, on our inventory. So if that cost is different, right, so let's say that there's a situation where this AL drum, right now it's $22, but let's say that they had a problem, couldn't get it to us, so they had to get us another one, but because it had a higher cost, they called, we confirmed, we do need to come in and change the purchase order because whatever's here is what's going to drive. So if I change the, oops, back here, so if I change this to 23, right, it's going to ask us, do we want to go ahead and do this, right? Because that, when I go in, let's do a save. Whoop, I forgot to put quantities in there. Hold on, let me put that in there. That's helpful. All right, so let's save that. But let me show you here. So we create our purchase order. We can create our item receipts from that, right? So let's get our last one. But as you can see, there's no cost in here. I do not have the ability. So this is one of the reasons this is a good thing. If we don't want our receiving team to know what the cost is, we just need them to recognize, did we get the correct quantity, right? Did we get the correct item? They're going to come in here and make the changes here. They're not worried about the cost. That's accounting's headache, okay? So if they're coming in here and making these changes, that's the cost that's going to go against our cost, okay? So that's important because that's also, if we make this change to turn the receiving on, it will change those costs back to what they were. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, so once we have our receipts in there, right, the product has been received. Now we just need the bill, right? So if I go ahead and close this out, oh, I guess I need to record it. There we go. Okay, so we close this out. Now we come in and go back to our home page. Okay, so we've created our purchase order. We've received our items. Now let's enter that bill. Okay, so here's our vendor. Yes, thank you. We'll go ahead and work that item receipt that we just did. There we go. Now we're ready to pay. We just put whatever that bill reference is. That way it ties them all together. Okay, now there's a button down here. You can see the purchase order, right? If I'm on, if I need to go back and look at that, right, to compare, but it does pull everything based on what was on the PO, okay, and then what we actually received against it. Save and close. Okay, and then we can pay our bill. Right, so we have all those there. Pick and choose which ones we want to pay. So that would be the standard flow for us to utilize with the enhanced receiving, right? And again, the advantages are we can pick and choose, right? Because most of the time, or at least my experience has been, we have vendors that are sending it out when they get it, right? So if they're ordering it for us, maybe it's a drop ship, but they want to bill everything together. It's hard if you're in the standard system, right, because we have to break them out. So it does allow us to put multiple together or split them, right? So it gives us that. It also helps us with like that, balance of duties, right? Receiving is responsible for making sure that the counts are right, the items are right, and that they're going to the right location in the warehouse or inventory floor, whatever our scenario is. Accounting is responsible for making sure that those bills match what we received, so that if they don't, right, if the cost is off or something like that, they can challenge that. The person creating that purchase order, right, they're going to be the ones that are saying, okay, this is what I've done, this is what I agreed to, and everybody else in the process gets to do their part. So that segregation of duties is important because it makes it where everybody's checking each other without them recognizing necessarily that they're checking each other. So it's definitely a big benefit whenever we're trying to, set up the duties. And it does, especially if we have a smaller group of people, it helps there too, even though it does in some cases increase steps, because I have some clients that have gone through and said, oh, I don't want to, I just want to do it all at once. Well, that's fine, but they've made errors, right? So this can help reduce some of those errors. Go check and see if I see any more questions out here. I do not. So if there are more out there that I just can't see them. So if we do see some more, I'll be able to answer those after the fact. Anyway, I do appreciate you joining us today, especially since, and it looks like we had a decent count come in, so I appreciate your time. Again, make sure that you check out our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. It gives you an opportunity to kind of see some of the stuff that we've already done, but in addition, the Facebook page gives you a voice so that we can hear some of the things that are challenging to you, and it gives us just a community in which we can share our knowledge with each other. And I wish you all the very best, and we'll see you next week.